Finally, a good cell. But should you summon for STR Perfect Cell? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are answering that age-old question: should you summon for the new April Fool's Dokkan Fest STR Cell Perfect form? As always, in order to answer that question, we have to take a look at three major things. Number one, we'll look at the unit itself. Is the unit good enough to justify a summon all on his own? Number two, we'll take a look at who should be on this banner, who we believe is returning, as well as some other surprise picks. And then finally, we'll take a look at what lies ahead, or what should lie ahead. As, of course, we all know, now we are fully synced, and we have no idea what's coming next, but we know the types of celebrations that are coming, so we can make a pretty decent recommendation based on that info. So let's go ahead and hop in. Let's start with the unit. So number one thing here real quick, he is dropping at 2 p.m. on March 31st. So for a lot of other people that, like, especially in Japan, that'll already be April Fool's Day. He is designed to be dropped on the April Fool's Day celebration, but given time zones and all that other good stuff, right, for me, he will be dropping at 2 p.m. So that'll be like right as I'm getting off of work, unfortunately. So we will definitely be summoning a little bit later on for that. But let's hop into the unit here. So he is a tournament participants or worldwide chaos category key 3, HP 200%, and attack and defense 170%, plus an additional 50% for androids or accelerated battle. He has an entrance animation that activates when there is a tournament participant category's enemy or another tournament participant's allies on his starting turn. Now, what that will give him is 50% chance to crit for the rest of the fight, and an additional super attack for the rest of the fight. And for one turn, it will create the Cell Games Arena for 5 turns. And that arena, once active, will give tournament participant allies and enemies 15% attack and defense, and Android Cell Saga / androids enemies and allies 15% attack and defense. So 30% for tournament participants and Android Cell Saga or androids. So I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, a lot of characters are going to fall under mostly this lead. And I mean, most of the androids units will fall under this portion as well, right? Just not this one. So, I mean, either way, you're going to get a pretty decent boost. So, domains are always a plus. Now, his basic effects are key to attack and defense 200%, with damage reduction rate 20%, and an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack. So he's got 3 super attacks right there, which means he's got the possibility of 4 super attacks in a turn. So that's pretty good when if you consider hidden potential. Now, when there is a tournament participants category enemy, he gets attack and defense 50%. When attacking with 12 or more ki, he gets 150% attack, and for every attack performed, he builds up 30% up to 150%. So he needs 5 super attacks, or 5 attacks rather, to build up his defense to 150%. When he is KO'd, he revives with HP fully recovered. After his or an ally's revival skill is activated, he will gain an additional damage reduction rate of 30% while temporarily when receiving a super attack. So both characters can activate this portion, right? So the thing about him is, if you're running him as lead, you're going to have 2, and only one of their revives can proc, right? So for this portion, right, they can both get the extra damage reduction of 30%, which means 50% damage reduction rate for both of them. Now, only the one who revives is going to get the following skill. Right after his revive is activated, he gets an additional 15% damage reduction and guards all attacks. So this one's going to be the one that revives will theoretically be able to handle slot 1 for most of the major fights with that 65% damage reduction and guard. He's going to be able to pretty much slot one it for, you know, characters like AGL Cell, who you're going to be wanting to run next to him. So, but of course, that is the one that can revive. The one that can't revive is stuck with, which is still good, mind you, a, you know, extra 50% damage reduction on top of what he's getting from his supers. So he's going to be all right. He's not going to be that bad as I would probably keep the second one as a floater, honestly, knowing that. Now, he does have an active skill that can be activated when 70% or less, starting from the fourth turn, and it gives him key 2 in attack and defense 35% for the rest of battle. So that's also going to be really, really helpful for him. So overall, as a unit, so he is incredibly powerful, right? He is incredibly good as a unit, as a monthly Dokkan Fest exclusive. He is really, really good. However, he doesn't quite have the full team necessary to kind of see him at his highest potential. I mean, obviously with his domain, right, that's going to be the best place for him. But the thing is he is a character that I don't like. A lot of other characters with this condition, like Int Broly, what's another good one? Birdcoo, right? Or even Fat Boo for that matter, right? Characters who have this specific condition locked behind their own revival, you tend to not want to run 2 of them around. So, Int Broly is kind of the exception to that. But for the most part, you tend to not want 2 of these around. Now, we'll have to see him fully in game, but based on what I'm seeing with the calculations here, probably gonna want to back off of this one. So I would probably say no in the category for him, for the unit, if only because he's gonna be a unit definitely better off coming back around for. But that's not to say that he's terrible. Looking at his defensive calcs here, right? Fully built up with 40% support, he's looking at about 4.8 million defense, and that's even without the extra 15% damage reduction or guard, right? And this does assume, you know, versing a tournament participants, and with the domain and the active skill up. So I mean, that is pretty good. I shouldn't say that's pretty good, that's really good, combined with the 50% damage reduction that he's going to have post revive. So I mean, they're going to be good, but again, he's probably he's going to be more one of those units you want to wait until, one, the EZAs drop, right? We're getting AGL Cell's EZA, who's going to drop well with him, and 2, we get more teams to fill out where you only need 1 of him on the team. Currently, we don't really have that, so he's probably a unit that's going to be built more around coming back later, to be slid onto a team where him and AGL Cell can just wreak havoc as a rotation. So with that, I mean, that is to say that, you know, he will be good in Battle Hardened Formidable Foes if you get him. He will be good in the red zones. Pretty much the only event he's not going to be good for, and that's only just due to the sheer nature of how the event works, is the festival battles, right? While defensively, he's actually going to be fine, even towards the very end. From the normals, he's probably not taking he's definitely not taking the super. Well, actually, he might with guard and 65% damage reduction. He actually might be able to live Vegeto's super, but damage-wise, you're probably going to lose more to the fact with him of not being able to deal the appropriate amount of damage than you are to actually dying to a super anyway. So it's probably the only event he's not useful for. So I mean, honestly, as a unit, I would definitely say hold off here. So that gives the question, well, what about a banner? Who's going to be on his banner, right? So we got none in the category for that, but how about the banner? Is the banner good enough to justify a summon? Well, looking at this here, right, the units that are supposed to come back during this celebration should be STR Lord Slug, or they could pull a fast one and throw Tech Buhan. Since Tech Buhan is on his lead, they could do that, but it is Slug's time to return. He hasn't returned yet, so more than likely he's going to be on the banner along with 2 other units. More than likely these 2 guys here. The rest of the banner will be filled out with your typical, you know, Dokkan Fest exclusive filler units, right? Obviously, we're going to have 18 there. This one right here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, plus slug is 5, and then we should have 4 more units because it is a pity banner, right? There are pity coins, so you'll have 4 more units. So I would definitely say that, I mean, if you didn't have let's pull back here. If you didn't have AGL Cell and STR Gohan, their EZAs are actually incredibly wild. There's actually some pretty good value to the banner. However, as Golden Week units, there's a chance they're probably on the banner in the following month as well, if not by worldwide. Although they are a bit older at this point, so they might be moved off. This might be our last chance to see them on a banner for a while, kind of like how Gotenks and Boo kind of went away for a minute. I would definitely say that, you know, if they are on the banner, there's some definite major value there. Other Android Cell Saga units they would probably throw on there, or tournament participant. Actually, they would probably throw some tournament participant units on there. Like I could see them throwing STR Kefla on there. I could see them throwing, let's see who else. Actually, let's just pull up that category real quick. Tournament participants here. I'm going to assume the rest of the filler is probably going to be tournament participants over Worldwide Chaos. So they could probably throw a Super EZA Tech Cell on there. They could probably throw the androids on there, or Topo, right? Since he's on tournament participant, and this was his slot last year too, for that matter. Let's see if I can find him here. We probably got to go a little ways back here. No, we got to go way a ways back. Right. There he is. This guy is probably got a good shot at being on the banner as well. If there is to be a Super EZA this celebration, he's more than likely it. So I could definitely see him being on the banner as well. So him or the tech variation that just got his Super EZA could be on the banner. So all in all, actually the banner is starting to shape up to be pretty good, assuming this is the banner, right? So if you didn't have any of these guys, with Kefla and the banner, possibly Topo or Slug making his first return, as well as the possibility of a good Super EZA being on the banner, even if it isn't STR, but it is Tech Cell, it's actually shaping up to be a pretty good banner. So honestly, I would say the banner itself, knowing that the banner also contains pity, that's actually, I think this is the first time I've actually done this where I haven't fully recommended the unit, but actually the banner is actually kind of good. Kind of crazy to say that, but I know a lot of people, right, may not have dupes in Goku and Gohan and AGL Cell who would really help out this guy. So honestly, it's actually a halfway decent banner for a monthly TUR banner. So that's one for the unit and one for the banner. But now the question is, well, what lies ahead, right? If we decide to jump in on his banner and go for that pity, what are we giving up instead? Well, unfortunately, we are in an era of unknowns, but we have a few. We basically know how Dokkan runs things. So the very next thing to come after this cell is going to be a Part 2 LR. Now, last year that LR was Ginyu to the Topo because it was a special pose celebration, so he kind of fit the theme. This year, looking to shape up to be a tournament participants theme, which means this could be anybody from Android Cell Saga to the Majin Buu Saga World Tournament to a DB Saga World Tournament, right? Or it could jump all the way up to Tournament of Power. We don't know, but it'll probably look something like this with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 featured units and, right, 3 featured LRs with pity and guaranteed summons. So I mean, I'm probably not going to recommend people summon on this anyways, but just know that there will be a Part 2 that will be followed immediately by the Golden Week banners. Now, last year's Golden Week banners ended up being some of the best banners we've had in quite some time. Not only were the banners actually pretty good, and the units themselves really good, right? They return, this guy ended up being really good. In retrospect, this guy being on there, getting his EZA towards the end of the year, ended up being a good thing. Like, the banners themselves were actually pretty darn good, right? Super Trunks made his return. Tech Ultimate Gohan got his EZA. Right, this guy was a good pairing with Beast. I mean, and then these two were pretty good as well. So this guy was incredibly helpful in the red zones. So honestly, right, like these were really good banners, and the units themselves, they were the top TURs pretty much until Daima Goku and Glorio dropped. So I mean, that's just to give you an idea of what we're going to be dealing with when these TUR drops. So I mean, to say recommend summoning on Cell over what could possibly be some of the some of the best TURs for the year, hard to make that recommendation, right? And then that's not all. It gets better, right? Following this banner, we will get a, following that month, we will get a Part 2 LR. Now, last year, this was the HL Ultimate Gohan. I mean, I had fun with him, but of course, compared to other Part 2 LRs, he was definitely not exactly the best of them. So, could see a similar situation or it could be a situation like the Bulma year, where Bulma was far and away one of the best LRs for tons of events. So something worth noting. It will, of course, also feature Pity more than likely. So something there, and then that will immediately be followed up by the June Dokkan Fest. Last year on we're using JP schedule. Last year on JP, that was the Rose, who featured these units here. This will also, of course, have Pity, so it will be a larger banner, and then, of course, whatever the June Part 2 is. None of these are really consequential, right? Because, I mean, even though the Golden Week units are probably going to be pretty good, since they do typically return during Worldwide, they're probably going to be a big skip too, unless they are, insanely powerful. But what all of this is building up to is, of course, what happens in July. So after the Part 2 June event, we will get the Tana Bata in early July. So last year this began on the 27th, so just a couple days before the start of July, and this featured the Tech UI Goku, who was easily, maybe not quite close to Beast, but he was definitely, for the time of his release, and even a little bit through Worldwide, right? Like he was still fighting in contention around some of the top units in the game. Obviously, past Worldwide, that sort of shifted, and especially into the 10th anniversary meta. But for his time of release, he was really, 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 really good. He was doing tons of damage on his counters with his guaranteed dodge on those major turns that you needed him, plus one of the few superclass domains. So, right, if last year's Tanabata is any indicator, we can assume that whoever this year's unit will be good. And then a week later, we're going to get the same banner, but with the 10 years returning. So if you were somebody who missed the 10 years, you may want to consider summoning on that banner too. So all in all, knowing that all of these banners are coming, it's probably not a good idea to be wasting your stones here on a banner for this monthly 2UR, who will make his return by October, if not sooner, right? He could very well return by August, actually. He could return as early as August. It really depends on how they, schedule things out. But I do believe, Topo will return on Roshi's banner. So yeah, he will return by August. So that's not even that long of a wait. So I would definitely say, knowing what lies ahead, no summoning. So for the first time in quite some time, even though the banner I do think actually could be shaping up to be pretty good, I do think for the first time in a while, I'm not even making a tiered summon. This is a big fat no summon, right? I know that sounds crazy, and I don't usually like making that recommendation, but he's still kind of in a weird place as a leader. You definitely don't want to be running him as a leader very often, unless you absolutely have to. Plus, knowing that, Golden Week, which could, finally bring those Daima units we've been wanting for, SSJ4 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Adult Vegeta, right? We were waiting those. Golden Week could be that. Tanabata could be that. We don't want to be spending our stones on this monthly TUR, who we can pick up for coins in August. Now, if you are a pay-to-play player, just know that there are tickets and pity coins, right? So, you could get lucky and pick them up pity less than, in less than 300 stones if you got some good luck there. I've had it happen before, but there's also Dokkan Fest tickets, so, keep that in mind if you are a pay-to-play player, but I still don't recommend you go overboard with Golden Week looming around the corner. So, guys, that is it for the video. That is my recommendation on the summon for the STR Cell. Again, I think it's a big fat no summon, but I always want to make sure that I'm giving you that full informed decision and not just saying flat out yes or no. We always got to break it down for you guys, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. So guys, that's it for the video. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below, hey, let us know. Do you plan on jumping in for Cell? Are you going to be waiting for him to come back? Or are you waiting for something even bigger to come in the future? Let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.